Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to Devlog number 44 for C-Beams, a spaceship action RPG that I've been working on with my buddy Rich and a small dev team for almost a year and a half now, and we're making awesome progress. I've got a lot of cool stuff I want to talk about today. We've got a brand new missile frigate in the game. We have a new faction material workflow that allows us to change the colors of an entire faction all at the same time. We've put a huge amount of work into the mining system for the game, whether it's VFX, the UI design, the actual mechanics behind it, the sound effects. Everything has seen a huge overhaul. And we've begun to prototype the look for the star map. This will be the map that is used to navigate the entire world of C-Beams. And if anything you see here today looks cool and you think, hey, maybe I want to play C-Beams when it launches, make sure to wishlist the game. There's a link for our Steam page in the video description, or you can just type in C-Beams in Steam and you will find it. Also, come check out our Discord. We post regular updates and have community discussions in between devlogs there. It's a good time and I recommend coming on by. All right, let's get into some of the changes we've made over the past 3 weeks. Let's start off by talking about one of our new spaceships. This is a missile frigate that is going to be part of one of the first bad guy fleets you encounter in the game. The concept art was done by Island, who also did the battleship design and the fighter design for this very same fleet of ships. The bulk of the modeling work was done by Milkman, and then I did all the UV and texturing and cleanup work to get it ready for the game with collision and all that fun stuff. The premise for this ship is something that can throw lots and lots of missiles. The entire front section of the ship carries 8 different missile pods, each which can fire 4 missiles at a time, giving this thing a huge amount of alpha strike capabilities. It's not particularly nimble, and you'll probably run across it with some escorts that you're going to have to deal with before you can take out this ship. Or if you're clever, maybe you can cripple this ship while you deal with the escort, since it can put out so much potential damage. Now, we also got an upgrade to our material system in the game that allows us to tie all of the ship colors into a material parameter collection and then make collections of faction colors. Here, I've linked up all of the ships in this faction to a single color chart, and I can adjust all their colors at once, giving me a good idea on how the faction looks as a whole as I go through and start adjusting styles and whatnot. And actually, I ended up really liking this green style here. Maybe this is the new faction cover. It's kind of got an Eastern European, almost Soviet era look to it. And I'm not going to reshoot the intro with these new colors, but I do like it. Maybe this is permanent. Kruger, our other concept artist, has been working on 2 new ships to fill out this fleet, and there's even a third on the way. I'll be talking about their details once they're in the game. Now, 3 weeks ago, this is what mining looked like in our game. It was the very first prototype of mining in Asteroid, and we've been working on it pretty hard. Here's the updated look at mining. When you switch into mining mode, you can target the rock, begin your mining laser. We have some updated VFX here, thanks to Will, who's been handling basically all of the upgraded VFX for our project. On the left side of the screen, you'll see an early prototype of our mining user interface. It's got a rotational mini game where timing your pulse over certain pockets of ore will allow you to mine those ore before you overheat the asteroid and it explodes. On the back end, we are also tracking the ore as it goes into your inventory. Here we've got some copper and iron that we've mined from that past asteroid. We're also playing around with a few different looks for asteroids. There'll be red asteroids, kind of bluish gray asteroids that will denote different levels. You'll need the right kind of mining equipment to mine some of the rarer asteroids, which will contain rarer elements inside of them and at different quantities. Panzer V1, our sound effects guy, has rendered out a ton of great sound effects for us, and I have gone and built out the different sound graphs needed to make mining work. This sound graph here is just for the mining laser, basically. So here we've got start mining. This one picks a random float every second and then interpolates to it, shifting the pitch of the sound effect, giving it sort of this power fluctuation, where it doesn't actually have that built into the audio file, which is cool. It gave us a really nice stop mining. Now this sound graph here is the Asteroid sound graph, and it's a bit more complex. We've got some simple stuff here that needs to get rigged up for some stuff. This would be like if a small object hit the asteroid. like a bullet, for example. And that's a medium version. Now, the non-mineable asteroids will also be physical and in the world and destructible. They can break off chunks before being destroyed completely. So here is the chunk break sound graph. It's set up so that each chunk break sounds pretty different, and you shouldn't hear the exact same one too frequently. Now, this big old pink graph right here is an asteroid explosion sound effect. And the reason why it looks a little more complex than other ones is that we've created a dynamic explosion player. It goes from 0 to 1 intensity for the explosion. And what's nice about this is we can just build out game logic that says a small asteroid blew up. Let's give it the weakest explosion effect. And when I hit play, watch these white lines here. Only these top 2 lines lit up. It's only playing a few of our chunk explosions at the same time. But when I crank this all the way up, not only is it going to increase some of the pitch values and some of the gain values, but watch these white lines here. Triggered all of them. So we got all the chunks triggered on that one. What's nice about this is we don't have to make a billion different sound effects for every different size of asteroid. Instead, we just feed a single intensity value to the sound player and it will adapt the sound accordingly. Now, Mr. Meteor, our multi-hat programmer systems developer, is working on a dynamic camera system that will frame your spaceship, your mining user interface, and the asteroid that you are mining all on screen at the same time. It's in the very early stages. We ran into a few snags along the way. Yes, this is his actual blueprint for the dynamic camera, at least at one point. It's much cleaner now, but we got a little more work to do on this system that's more or less going to interact with just about every single gameplay system in the game to give us some nice framing logic, focusing logic, kind of actiony movement at times when it needs to be. I'm very excited about it, but we still got a little ways to go. Now, I've also begun to create our design documents and some basic visual styles for our system map. How many jump points are going to be in each star system? What's the jump logic in between systems? How are we going to propagate instance levels around those systems? And all the data and visuals that need to go with every single star system, not to mention the workflow behind it. Can we make this quick and easy to build out a new star system and associate levels with it? There's going to be a huge amount of back-end logic for it, and I find that sometimes just building out the visuals for it really tells you exactly how much data and how much information you're going to need associated with each system. We also have a collaborator who will remain nameless for now, who is helping us with our UI design. These are just concept renders at the moment, but I'm starting to like it. We decided to go with a more boxy design for a lot of the interfaces, and once we can get some nice post-processing shaders over it to make it look a little more digital with some scan lines and maybe flickering stuff, I think we can create an interface that not only looks cool and is efficient and easy to read, but also connotates a little bit of the narrative within the interface itself too. Now, I've been pretty hands-off with everything UI related when it comes to actually building out the systems in the game, and I thought it would be interesting to just have Rich kind of go over some of the basics of UI design and how he's going to implement some of these new visuals.
Building out UIs and HUDs and menu systems is a massive and deep subject, but I can give you a few tidbits and show you a little bit of what it's like to work with UI in Unreal. I've made a little bit of progress on implementing some new visual designs for our UI. So let's go take a look at how that's going. Here you can see I'm working on this mining UI. I like to start by laying things out to see how they look in an ultra-wide format. So this is 2560 by 1080. Then I put another boundary in there for 1920 wide, since that's a lot more common width. And for some common HUD elements, it's good to still keep those elements within the 1920, even in ultra-wide and beyond. So that important information is still close to the center of where you're usually looking. And then you can still see environmental stuff out in the fringes. Now, the reason you're sort of seeing double here is because I got this composite image of the design from our graphic designer. I could just have that in the back of my layout while I'm working as a reference. And then as I'm working, I can just, get as close as I can. We can make it more exact later, but when I'm roughing it out, this helps a lot. Another thing you might notice is there's this sort of gap between the edge of what would be the monitor screen, and that's what we call a safe zone. Computer monitors usually don't have this problem, but if we were to, say, port to a console and somebody was playing on a TV has a tendency to just simply cut off part of the image. So we put in this safe zone to make sure that the player can see all the UI. In general, it is possible to just lay each piece of the UI out individually, but usually what you want is for each piece of the UI to relate to something else in the UI. For example, we've got this border here, and then everything inside it, we want to relate to that border because we want it to be constrained within it. So because of that, you usually end up with a pretty crazy hierarchy. It can get pretty deep. So we want everything to relate to the safe zone. We want everything to be constrained within the safe zone. And really so on and so forth down this whole hierarchy. You can see as I click things which borders around the outlines of the elements get highlighted as I click down this hierarchy. Laying things out is one of the big parts of UI. Another major part of it is the parts that need to change. For instance, this progress bar, this number, this 78%. And that's one area of UI development that just has so many different ways of doing it, and you'll get people arguing about the right way to do it and the best way to do it. And we're sort of playing with different ways of doing it too. In the case of this, we're doing something that I sort of love and hate at the same time. So to lay out UIs in Unreal, you get to pick from dozens and dozens of different kind of widgets. A couple of the most common ones are the vertical box and the horizontal box. Those make things pretty easy. Like if you want to stack things vertically and you just want to drop them in and have them automatically, butt up against each other vertically, then you would use the vertical box. Let's see if I can highlight it here. There's the vertical box where I've dropped these things in. If we drilled it, if we want to see how this is laid out, that's in a horizontal box, which let's look at. Yeah, here's that horizontal box. And if I were to drop, say, another image in there, it would just automatically fit it into this horizontal area. And we screw with padding and stuff to get everything looking just right. This is a tiled image, so you can make it any size and dimensions you want. It'll just repeat the pattern automatically.
So as you can see, we've been busy. I knew mining was going to be a major component to this game. It has to look right, it has to feel right, it has to be balanced. There's still a lot more work to do there, especially when it comes to procedural world generation and populating asteroid fields and dealing with loot tables and all of that kind of fun stuff. But we're going to get to that when we start tackling world design. We have a lot of work in store for us in the next few weeks. We're potentially going to be trying an engine upgrading to the latest version of Unreal Engine. Probably breaking a whole bunch of stuff, hopefully not setting us back too far so we can show off a bunch of cool new stuff for the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed this devlog. Once again, if you want to check out C-Beams for yourself, make sure to wish list the game on Steam and come on by our Discord. All of that information is linked in the video description. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.